he knew I was riding well, and he said, "Trust me, trust a guy who's won this race before. You can go really far in that race and be a player in the final."
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro. You've just heard from Guillaume Boivin. Can you guess what race he was talking about? You probably can. It's Paris-Roubaix. But do you know what Paris-Roubaix winner was giving Boivin advice before the race? If you don't know, you'll find out later in this episode. If you're on top of your Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast listening, you'll recall that I spoke with Boivin this past summer. He was in the midst of his first Tour de France, and he was looking forward to his first Olympic appearance. He was on track for a very good season, and then things got really good. In mid-September, he won his second Elite National Road Race Championship. Later that month, he got a top 20 result at the World Championships. Then, Boivin had a fantastic ride at Paris-Roubaix, finishing 9th, which is one of the best results by a Canadian ever at the Hell of the North. Could this have been his best season ever? Well, that's exactly what I discuss with Guillaume Boivin. Guillaume Boivin, how has your off-season been?
Yeah, it's been a bit different than usual. It's been a bit busy with a bit more media and meeting people and stuff like that than it usually is. Obviously, after the end of the year, but it's been good. Just been relaxing in Montreal in the Eastern Township and just enjoying time in Canada.
A little bit later, I think I want to get into just what is making you busy and probably what's got you all this attention. But before that, I've noticed actually you've been running a bit. Is that to help with bone density, or is it to change up your routine while maintaining some fitness?
It was more just to spend some energy because I was climbing off the walls in the apartment here. So so that's I'm sure it's good for bone density and that kind of stuff. Obviously it's helps maintaining some kind of fitness, but it's more because after 3-4 days off, I've got a surplus of energy that needs to be spent, and running is a pretty easy way and efficient way to do that. So yeah, it's been fun. Just try not to injure myself, although I did run 21 kilometers the other day on my third run of the year, so maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do. Cyclists who've tried to get back into running in the off-season, I'm sure they understand the feeling, but yeah, no, it's been fun.
For sure. We always do stories like that. Like, hey, if you want to try running, take it easy. I know you're fit, cyclists, but come on.
At least I waited till my third run, so that's okay.
There you go. You've been pro since 2010, give or take. You were on Spider Tech that year, and I think you started with them the year before as a stagiaire. But was 2021 your best season ever as a pro cyclist?
I think I can say that. It was definitely the most consistent season because I felt that, I didn't have any injuries or back crashes or stuff like that, which helps a lot. So yeah, actually I feel like I've been progressing throughout the season, and then it's been really good. It's been really fun to share that with guys like Mike Woods on the same team, with the team that we had for the classics, for the tour. It's been a real fun season, and I think it's a big part of why it was such a successful season for me.
The last time you and I spoke for this podcast was in July. You were in the midst of your first tour, and at the time you really wanted a salad because you were on a low-res diet. Did you get a salad? How soon after the tour did you get?
I did. No, I did. Maybe it was around one of the rest days that we talked. I can't remember. I voiced it to the team nutritionist. Like he was like, I'll get the chef to cook you guys some pies or whatever. I'm like, to be honest, I just want a salad. So, and then yeah, they made it happen. They made it happen. So it was nice.
Good, good. But after the tour, you're off to Tokyo pretty quickly. What surprised you the most about your first Olympic Games?
Not much, to be honest, because it just kind of felt like any other race, or if something like an extension of the tour, because it was so close to the tour. It was only 5 days in between, and we had most of the same staff. Like a lot of staff from ISN came over from the tour to Tokyo with us, and yeah, Hugo was also at the tour, so. Yeah, kind of, and we weren't at the Olympic Village compared to some other sports because we were around Mount Fuji. So yeah, it kind of felt like a extension of the tour, which I think in some ways was pretty good because it allowed us to really focus on the performance and try to win the bike race. Yeah, it was didn't feel too much different, to be honest.
Is that good or bad? Because, the Olympics gets put in a category of its own. So was that, how would you feel about that it felt like an extension of the tour?
I think it was a good thing for us because we weren't going there to participate or to really just like have an experience. I mean, that wasn't the main goal of going to the Olympics with Mike Woods on that kind of terrain. So I think it allowed us to just, like I said, really focus on the race and not get overwhelmed with how big the Olympics game can be. You go to the village and the ceremonies and all that stuff. Sometimes it can be a bit hard to stay focused on the task ahead. So yeah, I think it was a good thing.
After the Tokyo road race, you told Radio Canada that you felt you had accomplished your mission to get Mike Woods to that final climb of the race. After Woods was off to try to win a medal, was it important to you to still finish the race?
Yeah, of course. It might only be the only Olympic Games I'll ever ride in. So for me, it was a really important thing to do to finish the race. I think everyone at the games there had the same feeling, so it wasn't too hard to find a group to ride into the finish. And from there was only about 30 kilometers to go anyway. So yeah, it was pretty important.
Following the Olympics, you had some pretty major results. Before we get into those, do you remember how you felt about your season after Tokyo? Was it already a success at that point?
Yeah, it was already a massive success, and I'd already raced quite a bit in the spring and in the summer. So anything else coming after the Olympics was going to be a bonus. And yeah, to be honest, I wasn't putting too much pressure on myself for the end of the season because I didn't know how was the body going to react. So yeah, I was just enjoying time at home with my family because I'd been away from Canada for almost 8 months, 7.5 months, I think. So I was just enjoying life, recovering physically and mentally, and just kind of riding my bike whenever I wanted. And seemed like it worked out pretty good for the end of the season.
It totally did. As you mentioned, you were back in Canada and you spent much of August here. Then you went over to Europe for the 7-stage Benelux tour. But then you're back to Quebec for Nationals. But then you went back to Europe after Nationals. How did such a travel-heavy schedule come about at that point?
To be honest, like flying Montreal to Brussels is pretty easy for me. It's about a 6-7 hour flight, depends which way. And then, it's not too bad. It's no layovers. It's direct flight. So for me, that's pretty easy to do. Over the years, we've kind of gotten used to the time change. And obviously it's still there, but we've got our own little tricks that are probably different for everyone to cope with it. And then it was worth it because I would really when I found out Nationals were at the beginning of September, it was definitely a race I wanted to be at, because it's a huge honor and privilege to wear the Maple Leaf jersey over in Europe. And yeah, whenever we have the chance or we can be there, I think, yeah. Anyways, for me, I want to make sure I go. So I went over to Benelux and didn't really have, like I said, any expectations. But yeah, I could really feel that as the days were passing by there at Benelux store, that the legs were really, really good, and they were just gonna get better with some more intensity and being more serious. And from there, I knew I would be really good at Worlds and Roubaix, because I knew had rested a lot in August, and the legs were still really good. So if I was just a bit serious for a month, the legs were going to be great.
How did this championship race in Quebec compare with your victory in 2015?
It was totally different. In 2015, I was part of an Optim where we had a really strong team of, I think there was 5 or even maybe 6 of us then. And then I basically didn't have to take a pull the whole race. Like the race just evolved in a way that I always had a teammate up front, and I could kind of catch a free ride and then just won the sprint in the end from the little group that was left. So this year was a lot harder race. Been alone from my team, and obviously when you come from the World Tour at Nationals, you usually have a pretty big target on your back. So you have to find a way to make the race hard and then attack from there to try to create some kind of separation. And once that initial move is made, you've got to find a way to win from that little group. It's always a really, really hard race. I said before the race even, is like Nationals can only go 2 ways. Or you win, or it's the most frustrating race day of the year. So yeah, this year I was pretty lucky to win, and then it was good fun. Hard, but good fun.
I can imagine that, yeah, you are a targeted rider, or one that no one is going to help because you come from the World Tour. And it's not like you can work with your fellow World Tour riders who are there, like Antoine Duchesne or Hugo Will, because, I mean, I guess you guys are all vying for the same prize.
Yeah, but we can, without obviously working for one another, we can work together, because it's like a harder race is probably always going to favor the guys coming from the World Tour, just because of the races that we do. And I guess, yeah, we're at the World Tour for a reason, So I think it was in every World Tour rider their interest to have a hard race. So that kind of, we did work a bit together in that way, because it was going to favor one of us at the end anyways.
After the national championships, what race was a bigger focus for you? Was it the World Championships or Paris-Roubaix?
It was 100% World Championships. After Worlds, I knew the course could hardly be better for me in terms of like my racing physical qualities. I knew the legs were great, and I felt like I might never get such a good chance at Elite Worlds in my career, So I wanted to grab it with both hands, and yeah, I kind of made some mistakes in the race, but learned a lot from those. I think cost me probably a better result, because I was really, really feeling good at Worlds. But yeah, like straight after, I knew Roubaix was coming the next weekend, and there was no reason why the legs wouldn't be there. I just had to race with maybe a bit more confidence, and be confident that I could play with the best guy in the world at that time of the year.
At Worlds, what might have been something you would have done differently during the race?
Just having a bit more confidence in my own abilities to attack or make some moves when all the big favorites, I guess they were hurting just as much as me, and yeah, that was something I didn't experience too often in the season or in my career. So I was, I guess, a bit scared. I couldn't believe that I was riding a pretty similar level to most of the guys there. So I think was just having a bit more confidence to make some moves rather than wait for the other guys to make some moves, which I did in Roubaix after Forest of Ironburg. I took some initiatives there, and then it worked out good for me.
Definitely, and I think most of us watching Paris-Roubaix recognize that. We saw you following moves and taking initiative, and I want to get into that a little later as we dive into Roubaix. But before Roubaix, how did you feel about that race? Like, what role did it play in your mind or in your imagination as a cyclist? What did that race mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was only my second start in Roubaix, so I cannot say I had like so many good experiences there because the only time I started, I didn't finish. So yeah, like in my own career, like I didn't have too much of an opinion on it, to be honest. I do know like it is one of the races that marked me as a young riders when I raced it. I raced the Paris-Roubaix Junior, which is held the morning of the pros. And that year on the same course almost. And then that year Stuart O'Grady won, I think it was 2006.
Yeah, 2007.
So yeah, okay. Then my parents were over in Europe to watch that race, and then we sat in the velodrome to watch the pros roll in, and that was something. I guess that's kind of where I fell in love with the Cobble Classics was at that Paris-Roubaix, sitting in the velodrome after riding 20 sectors myself in the junior race, more or less. So I guess I didn't have too many racing experiences there, but it did play a big part in my love for the Cobble Classics.
Now the cobbles for Paris-Roubaix, they're different, I understand, than the ones that you would face, say, in the Flanders races or in Belgium. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, they're a lot more nasty. I'll tell you that. They're rough, they're bigger, there's more space in between them. They're not even. Most sectors you really have to kind of ride the crown of the cobble sector, otherwise it's even more rough. So although they're cobbles, it's almost hard to compare them to the cobbles in Belgium. This
year you had a puncture in the first cobbled sector of the race. Did that set off any alarm bells? Did you panic? How did that affect you?
Yeah, I wasn't too happy. There's some guys getting dropped, I think, and I had to go around and get down the crown, actually, and I probably hit something at the bottom in one of the potholes that was there. So at least, like with the orange shield we have in the tires, I could keep riding a bit more because it was a slow puncture. I did I guess I did 2 more sectors after that with that wheel, where the third sector, I guess, of the day, I was on the rim, but then I could find a spare wheel at the end of that sector with the team staff. So then I changed, and I knew stuff like that were going to happen throughout the day. I guess it wasn't a bad thing to get it out of the way on the first sector. Although it took about 45 kilometers for me to come back because there's no more caravans. There's riders everywhere, and not much help to come back. But at least it told me that I had real good legs on the day.
So then when did you feel that, okay, you were in the right spot in the race? When did you feel like, okay, I'm the race is now going in a good direction for me?
I think coming out of Arenberg, where I could have very much crashed with Mads Pedersen when he clipped Luke Rowe in the forest of Arenberg. Was kind of a miracle that I didn't go down because I was right on his wheel. And then from there, when I went away with Colbrelli again before Van der Poel bridged up to us, I knew, this was a good situation for me. I talked with Sepp Van Mark, and he told me, gee, be smart with your legs because you've got amazing legs. Like, because he could see I was pretty comfortable in riding strong. So from that moment, I said, okay, I need to make the right moves, and then be aggressive and try to, I guess, put myself or Sepp in a position to win the bike race, and we weren't too far.
The crash you mentioned where Mads Pedersen went down, from the television, it looked as if Luke Rowe just kind of absentmindedly drifted in front of the group. Were you able to see anything from your vantage point as to what led to that crash?
No, we didn't see anything at all, and I think Mads never saw Luke because Mathieu and Sony probably swerve at the last minute, and then there was Mads and I. I never saw Luke, and judging from the lack of reaction from Mads, I would guess he never saw him either because he just went straight into him.
On the idea of like the form you're in that day, and so you have great legs, you've got the power, but how do you balance that with tactics? Do you know what I mean? How do you not let your good form make you, say, ambitious when it comes to following moves and all that kind of tactical decisions?
Yeah, I think you have to be also pretty like humble in the way you approach the final of the race. I did have good legs, but I'm sure the best guys in the world also had good legs. So it's not like, I mean, on that day, I was maybe close to their level, but these guys are still super strong. So it's not like I could just do whatever I wanted. Far from it, like guys like Mathieu and Sony were going full stick. So, and I had the chance to be an underdog and to have a teammate up the road, so I could play fairly conservative and kind of wait and see what's going to happen in the final. You definitely don't want to show too much. So
that's right. You had Tom van Asbroek up ahead in the move ahead of you. So I guess, that did give you, as they say, a card to play when you were behind in your group. In your team car, was your sports director, Dirk de Mol, and he is the 1988 winner of Paris-Roubaix. What advice did he have for you before the race?
He knew I was riding well, and he said, trust me, trust a guy who's won this race before. You can go really far in that race and be a player in the final. We've got to know each other, I guess, a bit more over the last 2 years, and you've seen me grow over the year, seen my form grow, and then I think he believed in my form and the way I was riding, and he said he wanted to make sure that I believed in it too, because that's also a big part of riding and racing is you need to trust yourself that you can do those things you want to do. So he was big motivation and a lot of trust in myself for the day.
During the race, was he able to give you any further guidance, or is Paris-Roubaix so, chaotic, so changeable that the sports director can't really do that much for you? How did that work during the race?
Yeah, no, I mean, he was giving me the information of, like what was happening up front with Tom and how I should play my cards once Van der Poel came across. And that I was in contact with them in the car. And then, at the end, he was also trying to motivate me quite a bit, saying that, the only guy who could follow those two guys on the cobbles more or less that day. So, that was giving me a lot of confidence and, not to be scared in the final, because at that point, everyone's cracked.
Tell me about the crash on Confé-en-Pavel. What happened in that sector?
Yeah, I was just riding on top of the cobbles and my back wheel slipped, and that was it. There's not much else to say about the crash. It was pretty breaking, and it's just it is what it is now. I still haven't watched the race. I don't think I don't know if I'll watch it, but it sucked, to be honest. Sorry, pardon my language, but it wasn't. I was a bit sad. Yeah.
You mentioned the word heartbreak. I'm wondering if you can remember any of the emotions or all of the emotions you felt after crossing the line in Roubaix with your teammate Tom van Asbroek.
Yeah, I was just spent. My wrist was hurting, and I didn't finish in the group I thought I was gonna finish in. So I was very sad. Like I didn't want to go to the Roubaix showers or anything like that afterwards. I just went to the bus and straight in the shower, and it took me took me an hour to realize that I still did a good race. But yeah, it was I was pretty sad, to be honest, because it's, who knows, might never happen again that I'm in this kind of position. I think I can make it happen again, but you never know. So definitely an opportunity lost, and but lots of motivation for the winter to try to get more opportunities like that one. So yeah, but I was sad. I was pretty devastated.
How is the wrist that you hurt in the crash?
Yeah, it's okay now. It was we checked it, and it was more of a sprain. So yeah, a couple of weeks after the crash, now it's maybe like on a 1 or 2 on 10. So it's slowly going away, and yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
How has your view of that race and what happened and your ninth place result, how has that changed since October 3rd?
No, it's pretty similar. Like I think, let's say from 2 hours after the race, it's been pretty similar to what I feel now. It's was probably the best race of my career in terms of performances, for sure. And then the result, I mean, top 10 in a monument. Yeah, it's not so easy to make. So I was proud about it. I was really surprised and kind of touched about all the messages I got and the people that came and talked to me, saying how emotional they were watching the race, and excited and sad. And I think a lot of viewers went through some similar emotions I did when I was on the bike. So that's not something we usually think about, is the emotions we bring to people just racing our bikes. So that was pretty cool to see. Hopefully it inspires some young athletes, men and women, because it was the first Paris-Roubaix for women this year, to try to reach the highest level of racing and do those races. So yeah, I'm proud of the race I did, but I'm also extremely motivated for next year to try to get the same legs and compete in the same races at the same level.
Your result at Paris-Roubaix is second only to Steve Bauer, if we're looking at Canadian results, second only to Steve Bauer's second place in 1990. He's a sport director for Astana, but you've known Bauer for years. You rode on SpiderTech, his team, from 2010 to 2012. Have you discussed this year's race with him at all?
Yeah, I did. It's funny because Steve was also the DS at Worlds for the national team, and Belgium being so close to Roubaix, I spent the week at Steve's house between World Championships and Roubaix. So I picked his brain on Roubaix the whole week, just trying to get some tips and whatnot, how to race it. So and then obviously gave him a call a couple of days after the race to talk about it. So it was fun. It was pretty easy. His biggest advice was, no matter what, just ride in the middle. Just always in the middle. Even don't go to the sides, straight in the middle. And it'd repeat that 3, 4, 5 times a day, So if you would look at the race, even sometimes Van der Poel and Colbrelli were trying to go on the ditch on their side, and I was staying in the middle of the cobbles because I could hear Steve saying, just stay in the middle, boys, stay in the middle.
Also, picking up on the SpiderTech link, you have a new teammate on Israel Startup Nation. Your old SpiderTech teammate, and someone you've raced with many times on national projects. That's Hugo Uhl. What do you think he'll bring to the team?
He'll bring, well, first of all, for me, he's one of my best friends. We've known each other for, I think, 17 years or something like that now. So it's going to be fun to have another Québécois on the team and a roommate. And he brings a lot of experience, and he's got a massive engine. You can see, I mean, Hugo had a great season as well, and he's been riding on a really high level for the last quite a few years, 3, 4 years, like on a really, really high level. So he brings some talent and some stability, I think, because Hugo is a very trustworthy rider in the sense that he's always there to do the work and in good shape. So and he also comes over with Jakob Fulsang, which I mean most people probably know Jakob is a really classy bike rider who's won monuments and the Critérium du Dauphiné and stuff like that. So it's two great additions and two real good guys too outside of the bike that will fill in well with our group, I think.
Have you had any discussions with the team about your 2022 season?
Not really. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we'll put some focus on the Cobbles Classic once again, and then we're heading over to Israel, so I'm sure that we'll start to talk about and plan next season. For now, it's more everybody needs to relax and disconnect a little.
What races would you like to do next year?
Yeah, I think pretty classic calendar. Just find the best way to prepare for the month of March and April to some good training camps. Maybe start the season in France somewhere, and then opening weekend race like Tirreno Adriatico, and then maybe San Remo, and then the Cabo Classics. And next year Roubaix will kind of swap place with Amstel. So I guess we'll have Roubaix a week later than the usual. So we'll see. I had a great time riding the Ardennes as well last year, so it's going to be pretty classic program, I hope. And then after the classics, we'll see what we do for Grand Tours and stuff like that.
Well, Guillaume, congratulations on a really, really good season. It was exciting to watch, and I hope the rest of your off season goes well, and we look forward to watching you race next year.
Awesome. Thanks for the chat, and to all the viewers, to you. Have a good winter, and don't train too hard because the summer is long afterwards.
And that's the episode. It's written and edited by me, Matthew Piaro. I had help from web editors Matt Hansen and Terry McCall. The Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is produced by Adam Killick. He composed the music too. Thanks to Ontario Creates for its support. And thank you for listening. Please rate and review the show, ride safely, and I'll talk to you later.